Former South African President Jacob Zuma has handed himself over to the police late on Wednesday to begin a 15-month prison sentence for contempt of court. The move ended days of intense speculation over whether the police and former president would comply with the country's constitutional court for Zuma's arrest and imprisonment. Mr. Zuma, who served as South Africa's president from 2009 to 2018, had been given until July the 4th to hand himself over to the police. If he failed to show, the police were given until the end of Wednesday to arrest the 79-year-old and bring him in, which is definitely done. So let's talk more about this unprecedented move in African politics. Who is joining me is an African affairs analyst, Amuda Mosigbodi. Thank you so much for joining us on The World Now, Mr. Mosigbodi. Well, Zuma was once an illustrious political figure who was jailed for fighting the racist system of apartheid in South Africa. Now he has been arrested for being contemptuous of South Africa's most senior judges, the guardians of the democracy he fought for. What do you make of the travails of the South Africa's foremost or former president?
For me, I think the case of Jacob Zuma is just a fall from grace to grass. Maybe if you say from grass to grace and then from grace to grass. This was a man who was a foremost anti-apartheid fighter, and he rose to become the vice president. And of course, he also became the president of South Africa. And now we've seen how there's been this descent from that exalted position to where he has found himself now in view of the corruption charges against him. So it's quite a pathetic thing. Although if one also looks at the antecedent of, a good number of these past South African presidents and of course leaders, it's not been a good tale. So one is not surprised that Zuma is facing these corruption charges. It's not just one. We have like 2 or 3 different corruption charges against him. So he got himself, he got his fingers burnt in this instance. And of course, one only hopes that the South African judicial system will be able to nip in the bud and of course bring to finality whatever is the mystery and misery behind all this.
Well, if you could recall, in separate legal matter, Mr. Zuma pleaded not guilty last month in a corruption trial involving $5 billion arms deal from the 1990s, which he has repeatedly, denied, said that he is a victim of political conspiracy. What do you make of the Zuma's administration when he was the president of South Africa?
I think for Jacob Zuma to come out to say that, he's a victim of political victimization, may just be hiding behind a finger. Now, don't forget that these charges and, of course, the prosecution or even investigations against him did not start yesterday. Jacob Zuma left office in 2009, and even before while he was president, these things have been on. So it tells you a whole lot. This thing happened in 1999, and there were other, the Indian brothers case was also there. So for one to say that yes, it is a political victimization, I think Jacob Zuma will need a serious convincing of people to really make to make us believe that it is political victimization. Although I think in 2019 he said that of course his friend was tried to test the waters on his trials, but then with the way the judicial system seems to be, there are evidences, and again they say that he that will come to equity must come with clean hands. Why would you also not want to appear before the panel? He speaks a lot. He tells a lot. He gives a lot of suspicion, across. If for someone who is a former president, I begin to wonder who are those that are really chanting him, as he has said,
that remains to be seen, Mr. Mosigbodi. But quickly before I let you go, what precedent do you think this will be setting, in the milieu of the South African politics, and Africa as a continent at large?
Of course, it sets a very huge precedent, and of course, it sends a strong message across. It means that the rule of law is really in place in every sense of the word, and that the South African judicial system will not subject itself to the whims and caprices of individuals within the system. So he says that yes, the law is supreme and the law remains supreme to everyone. And then, across Africa too, it would also send that strong message that we need to build our institutions. What we are seeing in South Africa play out now is the primacy of strong institutions.
Right.
And when we have those strong institutions, then it will mean that nobody will be able to get away. Regardless of, you may have that shield of immunity while you're still in power, but that immunity will not cover you when you step out of power. So it sends a strong message that there is this strong need. And I think Obama said that when he came to Egypt, that what Africa needs are strong institutions and not strong men. While I agree that we need both strong men and strong institutions, but then we cannot underplay the place of strong institutions.
Absolutely.
And that's the message that this Zuma issue sends across.
Absolutely. African Affairs analyst Amuda Mosigbodi, thank you so much for your insight. Really makes sense.
Thank you for having me.